Thank you for taking time out with Premier Sports Officials Association. Sean Johnston from Omaha, Nebraska here with you today with this week's basketball training tape. The agenda today, we had a couple questions turned in from last week to review some throw-in situations and then to discuss intentional versus strategic fouls, especially when we're at the end of the game and or the end of the first quarter and third quarter, which we see popping up now with the rule change with 5 bonus free throws. I found 3 basketball games to review some plays from NSAA, Platteview versus Elkhorn North, Malcolm versus Plattsmouth, and then Marion versus Papua Vista South, and then sort of what's to come next week, some rough plays, and how to use dead ball officiating tips and preventative officiating tips so it doesn't even get to the rough play status. So first, throw-in situations. So there were some questions on what is the rule, what is the penalty, and then what can we do as officials to prevent this rule to even come in place. So when we have a throw-in, if the defense is tight to the boundary line, remind the defense not to cross that boundary line. You could also educate the thrower. They could move as far back as they want as long as they remain on the playing court and within that 3-foot box with 1 foot. So if you're worried about a player being too close and making contact, or we've seen a potential violation of them reaching across, just communicate to the players. Give each other space. If you cross, it's a delay of game. If you make contact, there's going to be a penalty. And remind the thrower that they could back up. Now, after that preventive officiating, if the defense does reach across the boundary line, there is a delay of game warning the first time this happens. And it's a team warning. You just blow your whistle really quick, step towards the scores table, and say, warning, white, crossing the boundary line during the throw-in. If it happens again, you are going to have to award a delay of game technical foul, and that technical foul goes to that player, and it is a team foul as well. So then you award 2 free throws, and since it's a technical foul, the team that is offended will have the ball for inbounds at the division line. And remember, on technical fouls, anybody on that team can shoot a free throw. So a coach can sub in somebody from the bench to shoot 1 or both, and 2 different players can shoot those free throws. The next example was defense reaches across, makes contact with the ball. If it's with the ball, this is a technical foul. So there is no warning. They reach across, they made contact with the ball. This is an automatic technical foul on that player. 2 free throws and the ball at the division line. Again, to prevent this, remind that defense not to reach across and stay back a little bit. Now, if the defense reaches across and makes contact with the thrower, so typically it's on the arm, now we have an intentional foul. So it's a foul that prevented the clock from starting. So 2 free throws, ball inbounded at the spot where that ball was. So if we're in the backcourt end line, we're going to shoot the 2 free throws, come back to the end line, inbound the ball. So again, the main learning point in these throw-in situations, let's have positive, clear communication to prevent these delay of games, these intentional fouls and technical fouls from happening, of reminding the defense not to cross the line and reminding the offense they can move back if they have room and want to. Second question that came in was the difference between strategic versus intentional foul situations. We see coaches learning at the end of the first quarter, if they have 2 or 3 fouls to give, they might strategically foul, which is a normal common foul, because they don't want to give up a clean shot because they know they have 2 fouls to give and there's no bonus free throws going to be awarded. Now, we definitely see it, and I have always seen it at the end of the game. A team is down by 3 to 8 points, and they're going to strategically common foul the ball handler to allow that offense to shoot 2 bonus free throws. And then the original defense now gets the ball, goes down, shoots a 3. They just gained a point. All right, so let's first look at intentional foul. There's 4 categories. It's a foul to stop an obvious advantageous position. So this is when a player has a clear path to the basket, a clear opportunity to receive a pass on a long pass, and all of a sudden they hug them, they pull their jersey. They're not making a play on the player or ball. They're just preventing that score. Intentional foul. All right, so it was obvious the offense was going to get a clear basket or attempt a clear basket, and the defense did not play the ball or player. Intentional foul. Contact away from the ball, and players are clearly not involved in the play. All right, this can be rough play. All right, this is a push, this is an elbow, this is a shove, this is a retaliation, this is a frustration act. All right, that's what the importance of dead ball officiating, number 1. And then number 2, when you are off ball official, as in that ball is not in your area, you have to watch players. If you see a frustrated player, make contact with them. Ask them, is everything all right? It seems like you're frustrated. What's going on? You might not have seen something as an official. The player could share what happened to them, and you could say, all right, I got you. I'll be looking out for it, even to prevent this intentional foul. The next one is not a legitimate attempt to play the ball or play the player, designed to stop the clock or keep it from starting. And this is where that strategic versus intentional foul comes into place. If it's a common foul, a push, a hold, illegal use of hands, a block, I don't want to quite get into the elbows because we shouldn't be using elbows to strategically foul at the end of a quarter or the end of a game. But if you could connect it to a common foul that is a normal basketball foul, yes, they are stopping the clock, but they are giving the offense the opportunity to go shoot 2 free throws for the bonus. This is not quote-unquote intentional foul. All right. The intentional foul in this one is holding an opponent during an inbound. So the clock never started. They're trying to foul before the clock even started. Now we have an intentional foul. The other example is creating a common foul on a player without the ball. So an offense wants to get the ball in a good free throw shooter's hands. Well, now away, they're going to hold and push their worst free throw shooter. That's an intentional foul. They're not going to do that in 4 minutes left to go in the second quarter. That's the intentional foul. That's not a legal strategic foul. And then the last one, excessive contact with an opponent. I really don't have clear examples for you. When we get into rough play next week and we get video shared with us, we'll show you some excessive contact with an opponent. When you see it, you will know it. A lot of times, even the crowd, just a human reaction to the contact tells you excessive. If we don't know 100%, all right, blow the whistle, raise your hand, close fist. Get together as a crew after you separate the players and discuss what did you see in the judgment. If it's an uneasy situation, err on the side of intentional foul. We want to prevent roughness and escalation of roughness. So these are the intentional foul categories. Now strategic foul. All right, so now the defense is losing and they want to commit a foul on purpose to allow the opponent to shoot bonus free throws, and the clock did start. The common foul is on the player with the ball, so it's a legitimate play on the ball / player. The common foul is not excessive. They didn't shove them to the ground. They didn't tackle them to the ground. And then it's a common foul is a legitimate play. A strategic foul is a legitimate play to get that ball back to score 3 points versus the 2 or 1 point or 0 points if they miss both free throws. All right, so if you're working with new partners at the end of the game, team calls a timeout. All right, let's talk. Let's confirm how many timeouts are left for each team. Let's confirm who has last second shot. Let's confirm everybody has clock responsibilities. And then now strategic foul. When in doubt at the end of the game, it is a legitimate play on the ball/player. And then talk to the players. It's okay to tell the players, make sure you go for the ball. All right. Only strategically foul the player with the ball. And then the last tip here that came up was just because a team is strategically fouling at the end of the game, don't assume they're going to foul every single time. Strategy changes every single time out. Down by 5 versus down by 2. All right, so now they might trap that first pass. They might wait until the player that has a worse free throw percentage gets the ball. They might leave them wide open. Anticipate the type of play you're going to call. Don't anticipate the call you're going to make, which we'll get into here a little bit in the training tape with the plays. So thank you to the Amy Harms and Travis Binkelman for sending in these 2 rules questions. Hopefully this helps clarify some of the information of what is intentional versus strategic, and how do we handle those throw-in situations when the defense crosses the boundary line. Now we're going to get into some plays from NSAA basketball last week. The first one is going to be 2 common plays of verticality, offense-initiated contact versus defensive-initiated contact. And coach is potentially saying, why is it called one way on one side of the court and called another way on the other side of the court? I will say very, very rarely will we as an officiating crew be able to match up calls from one side of the court to the other side of the court, because every play is different. Now, there might be the 1% chance. Well, yep, same exact reason why I didn't call foul is the same exact reason why my partner didn't call foul. And that's the importance of communicating after your judgment of what the players did. So let's take a look at this first one. We're going to have a drive to the basket. We have a lean forward here by the defense. Okay, so we have the offense going to the basket, defense leaning forward, but we know the ball handler is trying to get to the basket for layup. So we're going to go forward, slow motion. We have verticality, and we have the defense going into the shooter. Now that we have contact, let's see the result of the contact. Goes up, goes off the backboard, in. Everybody stays on their feet. All right. So the judgment here was, yes, we have contact initiated by the defense, but after that contact, the offense was not at a disadvantage. She was in the same position she was before the contact. Play on. Now we're going to go down the other way down the court. We have a drive. We have the defense leaning in to the offensive player once again. We have now a step forcing the player away from the basket. Now the offensive player isn't allowed to go towards the basket. Shot goes up while she's fading away. And the result is a missed shot. So coaches might think, same play, 2 different calls. The defense body might have been the same. The result of the contact was different. All right, so we have defense-initiated contact. 1, the offense was able to continue their normal basketball movement to the basket, score a layup. The second one, after the contact, the defense was now propelled away from the basket, forced to shoot a fadeaway shot, missed basket. Now you see this coach, he wants the foul on the floor. All right. Let's go back to the rule of when is a player in the act of shooting. A player is in the act of shooting when they start the habitual movement to start a shot. Right now is when the act of shooting begins. She has gathered the basketball with the intent to shoot. The official has not ruled a foul yet. So as we go here, there's the foul. She is in the act of shooting because she already gathered the basketball, which is the beginning of the habitual movement to shoot the shot. So really good job as a crew on one end laying it play out. No disadvantage after the contact. on the other end, letting it play out, see the result of the contact. So though in a coach's mind this might be same play, similar play, it's not. It's two completely different reactions based on the contact. And both I support as correct no call first and correct foul call second in the act of shooting. So good job there by that crew. Some clips from another game. This is always my favorite as an official. We hear coaches and fans yelling, "Over the back." And I always nod my head, yes. She did go over the back, and that's why I didn't call a foul. So let's take a look at this no call here on the rebound. All right, so we have number 20 blue. She has a right to that spot on the court. I believe it's 30 white. She has the right to this spot on the court. We're going to go slow motion again. Both jump vertically straight up. Yes, 20 blue is over white's back, but that's not a foul. We have contact. Now we have to judge what happens to both players after this contact is made. Both come down in the same exact spot from where they jump from. Legal. 30 gets the rebound and is able to perform normal basketball movement. Great example of yes, over the back. However, the contact did not create displacement. The contact did not create any disadvantage to the player in white to get that rebound and continue normal basketball movement. Correct no call, play on. Good no call once again right there. We have the offense going into a vertical defender. Defense did nothing incorrect to cause a foul there. So a lot of times in that last play, we see the defense side by side and we anticipate the foul. Never anticipate a foul. Anticipate the type of play you're going to have to judge and call, but then wait. What type of contact is there? And if the contact's not a disadvantage, let it go. This next play is really good job on mechanics and dead ball officiating. We have a held ball when two players are possessing the ball at the same time, and to reduce roughness or prevent roughness, we're going to call a violation by blowing our whistle and raising our hand. It's important to raise our hand first because let's say a coach is yelling for timeout. Us raising our hands right here slows us down. All right, number one, we can't grant a timeout unless one team is in clear possession. So when in doubt, don't award a timeout in a potential held ball situation. The other thing these two officials do is they keep their eyes on the player. They are not looking at the possession arrow. All right, though we blew the ball, players will still jostle for that ball. It's just that innate competitive, I want the ball. We must keep our eyes on the ball and the ball players to make sure nothing beyond a common foul happens after the whistle's blown. And now, how do these officials know which way the arrow's going without even looking at the arrow? This is where we ask officials, have that second whistle in your pocket. If you feel where your own possession arrow is in your pocket, you don't have to look at that possession arrow. Do not look at that possession arrow when the players are still by each other. All right, you have it in your pocket with that extra whistle. So good job. Number one, calling the violation and stopping the clock with an open hand. Number two, held ball was the call. Number three, watching the players while they're still jostling for the ball after the held ball. All right, the purpose of this next video clip is to go over inbounds mechanics. Number one, even with the new rule that if the ball stays in the front court for Team A after a violation, it goes to the 4 designated spots, exception, 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 out of bounds. When the ball goes out of bounds in the front court, Team A is going to retain possession of the ball. We put that ball in play at the spot where it went out of bounds. Official correctly stops the clock by raising his hand, blowing the whistle, then pointing the direction in which what team will next put the ball in play. Now, since this ball is what we call deep corner, so any inbound, free throw line extended and below, the lead official will administer, as in pass the ball to the thrower. The lead official will then turn and watch their primary coverage area, while the trail official will start the clock and count the 5 seconds. This is not a double chop, all right? This is a single chop, single count by the trail official, and the lead official will just pass the thrower the ball, because now we have wide coverage. We're boxing all the players in. We have a sub at the table, all right? So we have a good job. The horn is buzzing. The sub is staying there until the official beckons that sub in, and that official keeps his hand up until we have 10 players on the court. So this is very good substitution administration as well. All right, so there's your lead official passing the basketball. There's your trail official going to chop it in, count 5 seconds. Correctly done by this crew. All right, this next play is going to be over intentionally kicked ball. And newer officials, when you're officiating a game and you get, we'll just say, feedback of maybe we didn't see it the same way as a coach, as a player, or from a fan perspective, make a mental note. Go back to watch the film. Did I get that call correct? Don't assume every call we make is correct. If we get negative feedback, have the humbleness, maybe I didn't see that the same way other people did. And then if that's true, figure out why. So here is a kickball situation. Is the pass intentionally kicked, or does she pass it off the leg? All right. So we have the coach who thinks it's a kick. What? Kick. All right. We have the player's left foot come up and strike the basketball and kick the ball. All right. So we got to ask ourselves, was it because I was watching the ball handler? Remember, if that player isn't closely guarded, as in being tightly guarded, have your eyes transition to the defense, and we probably get that intentionally kicked ball. Not a big difference here, but remember, intentionally kicked ball, new rule, violation, 28-foot line. Call on this court was out of bounds, where the ball rolled out of bounds. That's where we're going to inbound the ball. So, end of the game situation, it can be important between 28-foot line and out of bounds farther back from the 28-foot line. All right, so this was an intentionally kicked ball. We got to ask ourselves, when we get that feedback from coaches, go back and watch the film. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? And if I did get it incorrect, why did I get it incorrect? All right, this next play, we're going to take a look at flop block. All right, and as the season gets going and games become more important, I challenge officials, take some time to figure out who are the players. Because I think this is an example of one of the good players, and the opponent knows she's good, and they're trying to get her into foul trouble. All right, so this discussion is flop versus block versus no call. All right, so tip number 1, if you're going between flop or block, and it's the defense hitting the ground, go block. A common foul, and you're not going to bring great attention to it. A flop in high school can be called. That is a technical foul against the player. So it's a player foul, it's a team foul, it's 2 free throws, and the ball awarded to the offended team. Make a flop huge if you're going to call it in high school basketball. This one, you could go block. There is contact, but the offense did not go through the torso of the opponent. There's contact in the torso of the opponent, but this contact did not cause this player to go down to the ground. All right. Actually, you could argue because she did go down to the ground, this player's not going to the basket. She doesn't have legal guarding position anymore. All right? Block this action. When we block the action where the defense is trying to create a foul on the offense, you're going to find out really quick the defense is going to stop doing that action. If we don't call anything, if we choose no call in this situation, you're going to see players risk it even more throughout a game or throughout the game. And the more we have players on the ground, the more likely we're going to lead to injury. So just block it the first time it happens, get it out of the game, and you don't have to worry about it. All right, so some tips. Number one, know who those players are. Love every foul, no cheap fouls on any player. Number two, if that contact does not force that player down to the ground and they embellish it, call a block to clean up the game and keep it out of the game. Our next play that we're going to take a look at here has a bunch of information for us. All right, so we have reach. All right, it is legal to reach and tap at that basketball. But now, we have contact by the defense. This opponent was trying to dribble to the basket, and this contact now impeded and hindered normal basketball movement. So let's see what the official ruled. Slow motion here. We got a reach. We got contact, which impeded normal basketball movement of dribbling the basketball, correctly called push or illegal use of hands. Another note here is the non-calling official. Good job keeping eyes on the players. Good job hustling to the next position where you're going to inbound the ball. All right, whenever we have to take 2 or 3 or more steps, don't walk. Jog to that next position. So good job there. We have a foul in the front court. Team A retains possession. 28-foot line. Reset the shot clock to 35. Everything is good here. Sideline out of bounds. We're going to bounce it in. We're going to chop it in with a nice raised arm. And we're going to count 5 seconds, nice and clear where everybody in the gym could see it. So there's the start the clock. Now, ball's in play. Remember, officials, closely guarded, we need a 5-second count. 1, 2, 3. And now once that player goes beyond the head and shoulders of that defender, this is when the 5-second count ends. Now, let's talk about primary coverage areas. All right, this is the importance of you have to trust your partners. This crew does a phenomenal job trusting the partners. All right, so the play starts in the primary coverage area. Primary covering official has this defender all the way through this play. Center official will have this defender all the way through this play. Lead official will have these 2 defenders all the way through this play. So now as we go to the basket, remember, center official's defender, trail official's defender, lead official's defenders. As we go slow motion, we have defense, legal guarding position, 2 feet on the ground facing the opponent. We have the original primary defender now going straight down, not into the shooter. As we play this out, we have a vertical jumping straight up and the offense jumping into that legal defender. This was no call. This correctly was a no call, and we trusted that lead official to have that call. So we talk in our pre-games, if it's a 50-50 call, this is a 50-50 call, I am letting my calling official, my partner, take that 50-50 call with their judgment. If it's a foul that everybody sees in the gym, which this is not it, I am laying off of it. I'm going to trust my partner that they saw that play from the beginning, middle, then all the way to the end. All right, so now we have transition going the other way. I'm going to rewind this just a little bit. All right, here we go. Legal guarding defender. All right, 2 feet on the ground, facing the opponent. As this play develops, if we're going to have a foul, this is where that foul is. We have the defender potentially going forward into the dribbler. At this point, the head and shoulders is not past the defender. Oh, now the head and shoulder is past the defender. And now we have a foul called on the defense. All right, so good job of getting that block. If we could get the first one, that's what coaches are going to want. Get that first foul with that defense moving forward. We have head and shoulder getting by the defender on that second one, correctly called block. And since this ball is now inbounded in the backcourt, we're going to go to the spot nearest the foul, and they did reset that shot clock to 35. Good job there. All right, the last sequence of plays we're going to look at here is a backcourt violation, and then a final foul to close out the high school training tape video. Here's a pass. Offense was the last one to touch it and the first one to touch it in the backcourt. All right, so it's now, since the next team that's going to put it in play is now the new offense, this is their front court, we're going to put it at one of the 4 designated spots nearest where that violation took place. If this backcourt violation took place inside the semicircle or inside the lane, we would put it underneath the basket. But we were outside the 28-foot line, so we're going to go to the 28-foot line, table side correctly ruled here. Now on the inbounds, sideline out of bounds, pass it to the thrower, chop it in, and now we're going to have a drive to the basket. Why is this a foul on the defense? Let's take a closer look. Remember, trail official, primary coverage defender. Center official, primary coverage defender. Lead official, primary coverage defender. This defender is legal, 2 feet on the ground facing the opponent. They must maintain legal guarding position by making sure they get hit in the torso. We have loss of verticality, and we have head and shoulders past the defender, correctly called foul on the defense, closed fist, strong whistle, preliminary signal to explain why the player's called for a foul, resumption of play, 2 free throws. So good judgment, good communication with the preliminary, and then good job communicating to the crew what's going to be the resumption of play. Last training tape we talked about clock awareness and the magic number. This is another example from a college game at the end of the first half. So we have 39.1 seconds left. So in college, the shot clock is 30 seconds. So the magic number is 9.1. All right, so we always want to have that magic number in our head as an official when we are at the end of the quarter or at the end of a game when you're playing with a shot clock. So now we have 2.2 seconds left on the magic number. Now as we go here, we have a potential shot clock violation. Another note, when you're playing with a shot clock, primary coverage official should be the only one signaling shot clock violation. If we have all 3 officials signaling shot clock violation, we have all 3 officials watching the ball and not watching off ball. We should only have one judgment on shot clock violation. That's where that shot has come from. So as we play this out, we have shot clock violation. The trail official should be calling it. We see the game clock says 7.7, but we know the magic number is 9.1 because that's what the shot clock was at when we put it in play. So if you have that knowledge, all right, we know it was a 35-second shot clock. We know there was 40 seconds left. Put 5.0 on the game clock because we have definite knowledge of that magic number. to conclude this training tape, I want to talk briefly on rough plays. So last week, we had a player stomp on another player's head, which resulted in a flagrant foul and ejection. And the only way the officials saw the stomp was all three officials stayed watching the play. Next week's training tape, we're going to have that play on the training tape, showing correct mechanics of dead ball officiating. As you're working games this weekend and next week, whenever we blow that whistle and players from opposing teams are near each other, keep watching. The other play that we're going to have on next week's training tape is escalation, which results in a flagrant foul elbow, correctly called flagrant, correctly called an ejection. But what we want to do is take a look at plays leading up to that flagrant play. So officials, as you are officiating this week, don't just assume everything is good. Keep in tune with coaches' behavior, players' behavior, and if you get frustrated players, frustrated coaches, attend to that, because if we don't de-escalate, the players and coaches will escalate and it will turn into rough play and in some cases flagrant play, and we want to take our position as officials to keep the game not only fair but safe. So as you work games this week, be strong dead ball officials and be very aware of frustrated players and coaches to prevent rough play from happening. Thank you for taking time out this week with PSOA Training Tape December 7th. If you enjoyed it, like it, share it, and hope you come back again next week for next week's training tape. Officials, until next time, remember, you're only as good as your last call.